Okay, so today we will discuss numerical integration. So first of all, here we will only be able to do definite integrals. Okay. So basically, we are trying to integrate something of this sort, which is integration a to b fx dx. Okay, and this is an integration, but we would represent that as a sum of some algebraic quantities. Okay, uh, so to give you the crudest example, for example, if I have a function going from a to b, something like this is f of x, and this is x, and these are the limits on x, a and b. And if, let's say, this is an arbitrary nonlinear function, so you can employ one method called, let's say, the rectangle rule. Okay. So in the rectangle rule, this is what we do. Uh, we take a point, let's call it x star, and that x star is actually the midpoint between a and b. Okay. And then what we would do is we would evaluate the function. We would be given the expression for the function. Okay. For example, if you are evaluating a gamma function, if we are evaluating a gamma function, you can write it to be. Okay. So once you integrate this, then you get gamma of z. স্যার আমি এখন ক্লাস নিচ্ছি স্যার স্যার আমি ডিপার্টমেন্টেই আছি ডিপার্টমেন্ট থেকেই ক্লাস নিচ্ছি ওকে so running from 0 to infinity, this gives you the gamma function. So you understand that this type of function is not very easy to integrate for any arbitrary value of z belonging to any real number. Okay. So for example, if z equals 1, then it is probably very easy to solve. But if it is, let's say, z equals pi, then probably it is not very easy to get the expression because you cannot do the indefinite integral. Therefore, it is not very easy to evaluate this function, okay, the gamma function for any arbitrary z. So the point here is that first of all, we can only employ a numerical method when we are looking for a definite integral. We are not trying to get a general expression right here. Okay, and so let's see how we can you can use that using the rectangle rule. So what you do is you will get that x star, which is midway between a and b, and we'll evaluate the function. Uh, Here we are trying to do an integration that seems implausible when trying to do an analytical method or a direct method where we are trying to get a closed form expression for the integration, a generalized expression for the integration, that seems impossible. But it is always possible to evaluate that function at at a given x value. Okay, there is a first rule for numerical integration also, that in order for you to be able to do numerical integration, that function, one should be able to evaluate that function for any arbitrary x between a and b. Okay, so that condition is implied. Without that condition, this any numerical method for integration would not work. So as we discussed earlier, that we can evaluate the function as it also looks for any arbitrary z, we can evaluate this particular function for an arbitrary x. So what we would do is we would evaluate that at x star, and we would consider again, I'm putting that in quote and unquote, within quote and unquote, that we will consider that to be some sort of average value, which need not be exactly the average, but let's consider that to be an average value, and consider that that is the value more or less everywhere within the within the uh, within the range. Everywhere it is the same value. Okay, and then what you would get, you try to get the area of this rectangle. So the area of this rectangle A would be this much. It would be b minus a times whatever is the value of f at x star, that is f at a plus b by 2. And that essentially gives us this red area under the curve. Although we are looking for this black colored area under the curve. Okay, so some portion, so there would be some overlap between this black shaded portion and the red shaded area, and of course there would be a part which is not overlap. Okay, and if A and B are sufficiently close, if A and B are sufficiently close, okay, then what would happen? Then I can express f of x, if A and B are sufficiently close, then that nonlinear function is almost like a straight line between A and B. And in that situation, uh, if I take the midpoint, which is the x star, and evaluate the function value, let us call that f star, okay, and then integrate, then we would see that the area under the rectangle is same as the area under the function itself, if A and B are sufficiently close. Because these two triangles then become, if that portion is quite linear, that portion of the function is quite linear, then these two triangles have the identical area. This can be shown. Okay. Uh, so it can be shown that if A and B are sufficiently close, then this area is a is a good approximation, okay, of the area under the curve. Of course, in a definite integral, we are looking for an area under the curve. But how do I make this general? If A and B are not sufficiently close, then how do I make this general? So what we would do is we would divide the So take this function f of x. So if it is if f of x varies like the first example, where it shows sufficient variation between a and b, and so much so that it cannot be approximated like a straight line. In that situation, what we can do is we can divide the portion between a and b into It's not mandatory to have segments with equal width, but we can choose to have equal width. Okay, and let's say that width is h, and n is the number of segments. Okay, so h would be obviously a minus b divided by n, and we would make this process general. We would define xi equals xi minus 1 plus h, and x0 should be a, and accordingly we would see that xn becomes b. Okay, and therefore we can represent this integration between a to b as I equals 1 to n 1 to n h times h becomes the width of each rectangle. Okay, as you can see, so we are talking about this set of rectangles here. So imagine I would take the value of the midpoint and draw a rectangle like this. Similarly, from here I'll have another rectangle and I'll get the area for that rectangle. So I'm talking about taking sum of all of these rectangular areas instead of actually taking uh, mm, I mean, sorry, that we cannot do, which is like taking the actual integration, actual area under the curve. We are approximating them as a sum of this rectangular areas. So width of each rectangle is h, but the height changes, and this is what is going to be the height if at uh, xi minus 1 plus h by 2, or you can generalize this as a plus I minus 1 times h plus h by 2. So to start with, if I'm at the first segment, that means for I equals 1, I'll be taking the function value at at a plus, so I would be 1, so this portion becomes 0, then a plus h by 2. Okay, so the first segment I have a plus h by 2. For the second segment, it would be a plus 3h by 2. So I would substitute I equals 2 over here. Okay, and that
So,
way, yes,
hello.
yes,
So function is x I minus 1 plus h by 2 কেন হলো?
yeah, that's what I'm actually explaining right now. So, so let's say if I'm talking about the first rectangle, which basically corresponds to I equals 1, and then I should be taking the function value in the middle of the rectangle. Okay, in the middle of the rectangle, the x value right here is a plus h by 2, because the width of the rectangle is h. Okay, and the first rectangle spans from a to a plus h. So the halfway between that, the width of the rectangle would be a plus h by 2. If I move on to the next rectangle, it would be a plus h, this much, then another h by 2 over here, which only goes to show the general expression for uh, the function evaluation is at a plus, for ith segment it is a plus I minus 1 times h plus h by 2. Does this make
ওকে
sense?
স্যার, ওকে স্যার, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
বোঝা যাচ্ছে তো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
Okay, okay. So সো একটা জিনিস বোঝা গেল এটাতে, সেটা হচ্ছে যে ইফ ইফ দ্য ফাংশন ইন এ গিভেন সেগমেন্ট, ধরা যাক ফাংশনটা আরবিট্রারি, ফাংশনটা কোথাও নন লিনিয়ার, আবার কোথাও একটা স্ট্রেট লাইন। ওকে, if it is a perfect straight line in any rectangular segment, then the rectangle evaluates the exact integration, because as we argued earlier, these two triangles are exact because these two heights are same. Okay, and going to, and also this angle is the same. Okay, so this will ensure these two angles being same and these two lengths being same would ensure that you have the identical areas for these rectangles. My point is, sorry, not rectangles, triangles. My point here is if the portion of the function in a given segment is actually a straight line, okay, I'm able to evaluate the function, the integration exactly, at least for that segment, using the rectangle rule, okay, or the rectangle method. That means if the function is a flat segment, which is like a constant, the function is not changing. Imagine what happens to bending moment when there is no shear force. So in that portion, or if there is a constant shear force, that is the bending moment is changing linearly. Okay, in both the cases, the integration of the bending moment, if for some reason you need to integrate bending moment, for example, if you are trying to evaluate the slope, so there is something called an area moment method, you probably have forgotten. uh, so that you can employ that. So in that also you can use such integration, numerical integration. So if it is a constant, if it is like a constant, or if it is like a straight line, in either case this rectangular rule would give you exact integration. So the thing is, the order of the error is it is a second order error. So that means if the curve is somewhat like a parabola, that's when the error starts to accumulate. Okay. If it is in that segment, it's a parabola or a cubic or any higher order polynomial or any sinusoidal or exponential function, that's when you start accumulating error. Okay. So this is a rectangle rule, and the next method that we would learn is although on principle is very different, okay, slightly different at least, but it has the same order of accuracy. Like we discussed in this case, the order of inner accuracy should be of the order x squared. So if that so in this segment, whatever portion of the curve is quadratic in x, okay, that would bring error in the numerical integration. So then so rectangle rule, এটার pseudo code লেখা যাবে তো, pseudo code বা algorithm লেখা যাবে তো?
অবশ্যই স্যার।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
Yes, sir.
Okay, so next move on to trapezoidal rule. So again, the limits on x are a and b, and this is the function of x, and we are trying to evaluate this area under the curve. Let's say this one marked in blue. Okay. And in the trapezoidal rule, this is what we do. We would evaluate the function at the two extreme ends. Okay. And assume that so earlier in the rectangle rule we were assuming that there is a representative value, which the function value actually more or less the same value everywhere in that segment or in that range. Here you would imagine that within this range it is only changing linearly, so you would consider a linear variation. So this is how we would approximate the actual function. Okay, so this is what is a trapezoidal rule, in which we would instead evaluate the area of the trapezoid, and that we would use to approximate the area under the curve. Okay, and this is the formula for the area under the curve of the trapezoid, or the area of the trapezoid. So the area would have the following formula. So first of all, the distance between parallel lines is a minus b, and then then actually you are supposed to multiply with that. So half comes later. So the values of the function at the two ends. So the width of the trapezoid of the two parallel lines, rather, you are supposed to take that, which is f at a plus f at b divided by 2. Okay, and okay, uh, so so this is what the trapezoidal rule is, and the trapezoidal rule also is able to you know get the area under the curve exactly if the actual function is is a straight line, can be approximated as a straight line between the two limits. Okay, now one might argue whether the rectangular rule and the trapezoidal rule are supposed to give you the same value, but the question but the thing is that they are not going to give you the same value, but the order of accuracy would be same. Why aren't they going to give you the same value? Let's say I'm trying to evaluate the function at a plus b by 2. And if I draw a vertical line, okay, the rectangular rule would have given you the exact value or the same value as the trapezoidal rule if uh, the function value that you had taken for the rectangular rule would have been this one. That is where the vertical line intersects with the this the oblique line of the trapezoid. But instead, we take the corresponding value of the function, okay, and use that to get the uh, area of the rectangle, or that is what becomes the height of the rectangle. And that's why the values from the rectangular rule and the trapezoidal rule are going to be slightly different, but the order of accuracy, let's say if one is off by 1%, the other one would also be off by 1 or 2%. Okay, so the order of magnitude of accuracy is the same for the two methods. So the two methods are equally effective, although it might look like that in the trapezoidal rule we are actually taking a linear representation and thereby doing some improvement, but that's not the case. We are in either method we are going to get the same value. Okay, and also if you compare the amount of function evaluation, that is also same. Is that same? No, in rectangular rule, you only evaluate the function once
A
for a
pro
given
plus हाँ हाँ
given segment, but for that you need to take the average of a and b. Okay. Acha, if I am supposed to take more segments, as we discussed earlier, if the actual curve is not a straight line in the given segment, the trapezoidal rule is not going to give you an exact solution. So to improve accuracy, to it cannot, the error cannot be reduced to zero, but it can be at least brought within the tolerance, and such thing can be done by taking more and more segments, more than one segment, and therefore you can use the following method to summation. So you can divide the segment into, as we discussed earlier, into divide the range into several segments. So let's first do that. So this is the function, and these are the two extreme values a and b, and let us divide that into multiple segments, each of width h. So h is the width of the segment. So that comes here, and then there is a half, and then you are supposed to evaluate f at xi and f at xi minus 1 for I equals 1 to n. So, so again, xi is xi minus 1 plus h, and x0 is a, and xn is b. Okay, and if I now substitute for xi and xi minus 1, this is the expression that I would get for the approximate area under the curve. Actually, you can bring h outside of the summation also. So summation of f of a plus I times h plus f of a plus I minus 1 times h. So this can again be written like this: h by 2 times f of a over here plus f of b. So this is x0 and this is xn, but summation over I equals 1 to n minus 1 twice f a plus I times h. So because of this addition, because of this taking average of fa and fb, or for example fxi and fxi plus I minus 1, okay, so each fxi appears twice. For I equals 1 to n minus 1, this appears twice. Okay, it's just that what I'm trying to say here, for example, consider the first segment. So you take a f of f of a and f of a plus h. When you move on to the next segment, you take f of a plus h and then f of a plus twice h, and you continue to do that. So you, what do you get? So f of a plus h is considered twice, and same thing happens to for each segment up to n minus 1. But then when you run into the nth segment, f of xn is only computed once or only used once. Okay, so this is the more compact formula. So you can evaluate f of a and f of b, and then for I equal 1 to n. So in the end, it is h by h times f of a plus f of b divided by 2 plus summation over I equals 1 to n minus 1 f of a plus I times h.
স্যার এন এর টার্মটা রিপিট না হওয়ার জন্য ওখানে সামেশন অফ এন এন মাইনাস ওয়ান লিখেছেন তাই তো?
হ্যাঁ, so x0 and xn are not being repeated. Okay, so that's why for the remaining number of values, okay, so these are the limits of each segment. So for all the xi from I equals 1 to n minus 1, the term of f xi appears twice. If you continue to do this process, so that's why you can rather use this more.
Hello, sir.
স্যার শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
স্যার আপনি কি কিছু বলছেন?
না, আমি বললাম যে এই অবধি কি বোঝা গেছে, or is there any issue? I mean, can you now write the pseudocode for this one?
স্যার আপনার কথাটা শেষ দিকে কেটে গিয়েছিল স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, মানে কোন অবধি, মানে লাস্ট দিকে মনে হয় গ্লিচেস এসে গেছিল স্যার, মানে
ওই
শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
কেন রিপিট হচ্ছে সেটা বোঝালেন, তারপর ইয়ে হয়ে যাচ্ছে,
Okay. Okay, so এটা তো বোঝা গেল যে কেন রিপিট হচ্ছে। মানে it is only repeating for I equals 1 to I equals n minus 1. Okay, and because if a and if b are the two extreme values, those are not being repeated. All the intermediate values are being repeated, and that's why there is a summation, so that there is no coefficient half for the intermediate values. Only for the two extreme values, you have fa and fb.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So any confusion, any doubt regarding whatever expression that we derived for trapezoidal rule?
No, sir.
Okay. So do you think you can now write the pseudocode or the algorithm for trapezoidal rule?
Yes, sir.
হ্যাঁ
Yes,
স্যার।
sir.
ওকে, তাহলে একটা কাজ করো, এই দুটো মেথডের জন্য ইউ ক্যান নাও স্টার্ট রাইটিং দ্য algorithm or pseudocode, whatever you prefer, and you have time till 12:50.
12:15।
12:50.
ওকে স্যার।
এখন তো 11:55 বাজে, আর 20 মিনিটের মধ্যে ট্রাই করো, এই দুটো যেতে হবে। ওকে।
Okay, sir.
So everyone done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now the next method that we will discuss is called Simpson's one-third rule. So the idea here is, what is better than approximating a function, a nonlinear function, a curve, as a straight line, and evaluate the area under the curve? The answer to that could be to approximate that as a parabola. So, of course, this is how we are given the function. Uh, the limits on x are a and b, and this is the nonlinear function. So we can now call a equals x0, b equals x2. Now to fit a parabola, of course, we need at least 3 points. So what do is divide AB. So even the basic version of Simpson's rule has at least 2 segments. We divide AB into 2 segments of size h, and this midpoint we call as x1, which is x0 plus h, as you can see, and h equals a plus b divided by 2. And what do we do now? With these 3 points, we would fit a parabola with these 3 points, and that parabola is supposed to approximate the area under the curve. Okay, and if the segment is sufficiently small, uh, this parabolic method uh, is usually more accurate than any of the 2 previous methods that we discussed. So let's start with the minimum number of segments that we require with Simpson's rule, and that the answer is 2. Uh, Also for Simpson's rule, we need even number of segments. That was not the criteria with any of the previous methods, but with Simpson's rule, we need at least 2 segments and always an even number of segments. Now let us define another variable b, okay, just for the sake of simplicity, because now we are dealing with a parabolic curve. Okay, even the approximate one is a parabola, and therefore we have the trouble to actually integrate that parabola. Now, why are we taking this pain to integrate a different curve when we are given the task to integrate uh, another nonlinear function? First of all, the nonlinear function that we are actually trying to integrate, the original one, that is f of x, that is uh, uh, that is of nature that it cannot be integrated in a closed form way. We cannot get the indefinite integer for that one. That can only be integrated through numerical method. So there is no question of integrating the original function arises. Number two, uh, what, so uh, so why are we trying to go with a parabola for which we'll have to do an integration? We could have stuck to a rectangular method, or even the trapezoidal rule, okay, which could have given us more accuracy if we have taken smaller and smaller segment, which is true. If we take smaller and smaller segment, they tend to give more and more accurate result. But uh, a parabola having some curvature, unlike any of the previous 2 methods, can approach the actual nature of the curve. Imagine you are gradually reducing size of the segment. Earlier you were taking 10 segments, now you are taking 20 segments. So in that method, okay, I'm talking about for any of the methods, you are taking the same number of segments. For example, in this example, we would consider the Simpson's rule is taking 2 segments. Okay. So with equal number of segments, even with equal number of segments, because the parabola have certain curvature to it, it can very closely approximate, more closely approximate the actual curve, and hence the area under the curve as well. And hence we are taking this pin. Also, once we devise a method for evaluating the integration of a parabolic curve, that becomes general, and that can be applied to any known or unknown nonlinear function. Only thing is, you will have to have that derivation done previously, and once done, we can use it forever. So that's what we are doing here. And to simplify that process of integrating the actual approximate parabola, and let's give it a name. Let's call it W of x, not f of x, okay, which is the parabola. So now again, I'm defining another function v, which is x minus a plus b by 2. Okay, only for the sake of simplicity. So this also tells us that dv is dx, and hence integration a to b wx dx. So that this is what we are trying to do here actually, and we are saying we can approximately do that using integrating w of x, can be written as minus h to h w hat of v dv. Okay. Why I went with a different notation? Because w of x, if it is like c0 plus c1x plus c2x squared, then as we can see, v is x is b plus a by 2, a plus b by 2. So it is c0 plus c1 times b plus a plus b by 2 plus c2 times b plus a plus b by 2, which is a different function in v. So the functional relationship of w with x and v differ, hence the representation. That's the only significance. But in the end, this could also be written as c0 bar plus c1 bar b plus c2 bar b squared, with some c0 bar c1 bar c2 bar different from c0 c1 and c2.
So
So
if
all the point I'm trying to huh?
if first equals to wx equals to w plus c1x plus c2x square, এখন w টা কি কোনো constant?
W is not a constant. W is a function of x. W is that parabolic function, that quadratic function. All I'm trying to say here is the functional relationship of W with x and v differ. Hence, I'm representing W of x as W hat of v. Okay. So, so the point I'm trying to make here, as is evident from this expression right here, that a parabolic function is x is also a parabolic function in v. Okay. So this will simplify our integration to a great extent. We'll see that in a minute. But before doing that, we'll also use something called the principle of Lagrange polynomial. We have been given w hat of minus h equals f of x0, w hat of 0 f of x1 and w hat of h equals f of x2. Okay, so we'll have to fit a parabola that passes through these points. Okay, it's not fitting if it is just exactly 3 points. So it is rather, we'll have to make a parabola that exactly passes through this point. So we would make a Lagrange polynomial which looks like this. So w hat of v is f of x0 times v minus h v minus 0 divided by minus h. Achha. I'll write the I'll write the general expression for Lagrange multiplier, Lagrange polynomial, and then we can write down the expression for w hat. Okay. For example, if f of x is supposed to be a parabolic function which has values something like this. So uh, if I were to write f of x as a parabolic function, okay, or so what we would do is we would write uh, f of x1 times x minus x2 x minus x0 divided by x1 minus x2 x1 minus x0 plus f of x0, and the pattern follows x minus x1 x minus x2 x0 minus x1 x0 minus x2, and the next thing is f of x2 times x minus x0 x minus x1 divided by x2 minus x0 x2 minus x1. How does this help? First of all, look at take any value, let's say x equals x1. Okay, if you take that one, if you take x equal x1, so the second term and the third term become automatically 0. Okay, remember, whatever is in the denominator, those are constants, they do not change. But if you take x1, then the second and the third term become 0. What happens to the first term? It would be x1 minus x2 divided by x1 minus x2 times x1 minus x0 divided by x1 minus x0. Point is, this whole coefficient becomes 1. Okay. So although it might look like a rational polynomial, it's not, because whatever is in the denominator is only a constant, okay, involving fixed x values. It is only in the numerator where there is any functional dependence on x, and that is only, so each of these terms are actually parabolic in x, but they are so written, they are so organized that uh, two of these polynomials would be 0 for x value equals either x0, x1 or x2. Again, take another example, take x equal x0. If I take that one, then this polynomial would be 0 because it has x minus x0, and also this third polynomial would be 0 because it has also has x0 x minus x0. So x0 minus x0 would be 0. Okay, so these two would be 0, only this one survives, and whatever is the value of this one, it is x0 minus x1 divided by x0 minus x1 times x0 minus x2 divided by x0 minus x2. So this one has a value of 1. Okay, so the property of these polynomials are they are either 1 or 0 in any of these three values. They could be taking any value in between, but at the extreme values, they are either 1 or 0. And, and therefore, this could be written as an approximation of summation over fi ni of x, I goes from 0 to 2. And the property of ni is ni at xi equals 1 and ni at xj equals 0 if I not equals j. Okay. So if later you get familiar with shape functions in finite element method, you would realize exactly this is how the shape functions are formed in finite element method using Lagrange polynomials. Okay. So Lagrange polynomial ensures that so what do we get out of it? So if ni, for example, n0, so this is like this function would be somewhat like n0. Okay, it's a function of x, it's not a constant. And this is only 1 when x equals x0, and everywhere else, sorry, at x equals x1 and x equals x2, it is 0. Okay, satisfying, so this satisfies that uh, the approximate function has a value of f of x0 at x equals x0. And when x equals x1, it will also have the value f of x1. Because the two other shape functions, so let's say this is n1 and this one is n2. These two shape functions would be 0. Sorry, the shape function n0 and n1, n2 should be 0 when x equals x1. Only n1 would be 1. So the value of approximate function would be f of x1. So it's a eventually you have a parabolic function which satisfies the condition that at this three distinct x values it has so and so value. The function itself has so and so value. So that criteria will be satisfied. So do you understand the Lagrange polynomial? The theory behind it or the understanding behind it. Is it clear to everyone how Lagrange polynomial can be constructed? মানে
Yes.
হ্যাঁ মানে যেটা আমরা করছি
বেসিক্যালি এক্স এর ভ্যালুটাই আপনার বসিয়ে সেটাকে ইয়ে করছে, তাই তো?
হ্যাঁ
ইভালুয়েট
মানে
করছে।
we have to satisfy, we have to make a parabola. Here we are making a parabola, but this applies to polynomial of any order. But let's you know consider only a parabola. So we'll have to make a parabola or construct a parabola which satisfies the condition that at x equals x0 its value is f0, at x equals x1 its value is f1, at x equals x2 its value is f2. Okay, so what we are doing is we are taking the values of the function at these three distinct locations, okay, and to each of these values we are multiplying a shape function, a polynomial in x, which has a value of unity at the corresponding x value, and at the two other distinct x values, okay, it would be 0. In between, it can take any other value. Okay, so to give you a visualization, if I were to plot these shape functions, so this is x0, this is x2, and this is x1. If I were to plot the three shape functions, so here goes your, so this is unity in one in y direction. So this is the n0. This one is n2. All of these are parabolas. And this one is your n1. Okay. So, of course, any intermediate value, it has a value other than 0 and 1. But at the three distinct values, it is either 1 or 0. Okay. Take any shape function, this is what is going to happen. You can check. Achha. So, using that method, let us construct the polynomial form or the parabolic form that is w hat of v. So you take the value at x equals v equals minus h. Okay. So so the two other values of v, distinct values, are 0 and h. So here v equals 0 and here v equals h and here v equals minus h. So in the denominator, we would put minus h and minus h minus 0. The next term should be f of x1, but when x equals x1, v equals 0. So over here, we would skip v minus 0. Okay, so there would be v minus minus h, which is v plus h, denominator 0 plus h, then v minus plus h, which is v minus h, and then 0 minus h. And in the end, we have f of x2 or w hat of h multiplying v minus minus h, which is v plus h, times v minus 0, which is v. And in the denominator, it is v2 or h. So, so v1 is minus h, v0 is minus h, v1 is 0, and v2 is plus h. So denominator v2 minus v0, which is h plus h, and then v2 minus v1, which is h minus 0. Okay. So can you now simplify the expression for w hat of v? So look at the expression for w hat of v, and can you simplify the expression for w hat of v? Remember, value of f at x0, f at x1, and f at x2, all these are constants. H is also a constant. So w hat of v is, I'm just simplifying f of x0 as f0, this one as f1, and this one as f2. So f0, so the first term would be f0 times 1 by h squared, or 1 by 2h squared,
V into V minus H.
v squared minus vh, right?
Yeah.
Then the next term is f1
1 by H square.
h squared, v squared minus h squared, right?
Uh-huh.
And the third term is,
By
by the
2H
way, this
square.
one is negative. This one is negative, right? The second term, because it is minus h squared.
Uh-huh.
And the third term is again 1 by twice h squared,
V square plus VH.
v squared plus vh times ft. Okay. Now you'll have to integrate this between minus h to h. You see, it's a integration from a given minus limit to the same quantity in positive. Okay. Now if you look at the expression for w hat, you do realize that this quantity and this quantity are odd functions in v. They are linear in v, hence they are odd functions in v. And no odd function has ever survived integration from minus h to h for any arbitrary h. All I'm trying to say is, if you have an odd function, for example, earlier we are, showing you this straight line, right? Okay. So whenever a straight line goes from minus h to plus h, okay, the negative area, as we discussed earlier, is same as the positive area. So they cancel out. Okay.
Yes.
So, so all I'm trying to say here is this quantity is therefore, of course, if you take, what happens if you take an even function like a constant term, or a parabola. So they are like 2 times over. If it is like a rectangle, it is like 2 rectangles from minus h to h. Okay, so if from minus h to h, it is like 2 rectangles from 0 to h. Same thing happens to parabola. The area under the parabola between minus h to 0 is same as that of 0 to h. Okay, and irrespective of the parabola, so whether it's a parabola like this or like that, the area is twice. So I can write it to be twice between 0 to h, 1 by twice h squared f0 times b squared minus 1 by h squared f1 times b squared minus h squared. This h squared is again like this rectangle over there, it's a constant term. So that is also an even function, plus 1 by twice h squared f2 times b squared dv. Okay. So can you do this integration? And can you tell me whatever is the coefficient of f1, f2, and f3? Sorry, f0, f1, and f2. So do the integration by hand on your on a piece of paper, okay? And give me the coefficients of f0, f1, and f2.
So 1/3, 4/3, and 2/3.
1/3.
স্যার 1/6 হচ্ছে স্যার, ফার্স্টেরটা 1/6,
Okay.
তারপর একটা ম্যাম করছি।
Is it somewhat like this?
ইয়েস স্যার।
Okay. Let's go. I think it should be h/3, right?
হ্যাঁ স্যার ওটাই তো।
আচ্ছা, বাইরে 2 আছে। হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে।
Hence the name 1/3 rule.
হ্যাঁ স্যার তাই জন্যই তো বললাম।
So, okay. So one thing to check, that if by some happy accident f of x is a constant, which means f0 equals f1 equals f2. Okay. So you get equals f, let's say f star. In that case, it is h/3 times 6 times f star. If f1 equals f2 equals, so f0 equals f star. So basically what we have is f star times twice h being the distance from a to b. Okay, so that way it will be consistent. It has to be h/3. Okay, acha. So that is there, and now Here, everything that we have done for taking a single pair of segments. If we take n such segments, okay, or rather 2n such segments, what would happen? We don't need this anymore. So let's say between A and B, we have taken n segments, and n is an even number. Okay. And anytime we will take two segments together. From these two segments, the area under the curve is this.
P minus
Say by n.
Sorry,
area.
area under the curve, or the approximate area under the curve using Simpson's rule for any two segments. So you take segments in pair, and h equals p minus a
By n.
by n. So the area, the approximate area, which is integration f of x dx between a to b, is basically then summation over I equals 1 to m h divided by 3 times f of twice m minus 2. So when m equals 1, it is 0, plus f of twice m minus 1 times 4, plus f of twice m once. Which can be, of course, you can, make a program which basically does this. Okay. But this can further be simplified to write it is h by 3 times f0 plus fn plus summation over I equals 1 to n minus 1 So you understand, let's say for mth segment, whatever is twice m minus 1, that is twice n for m minus 1 segment. Sorry, okay, I've written it wrongly. It should be with respect to I. Twice I minus 2, then twice I minus 1, and twice I. So you understand that for ith segment, whatever is twice I minus 2, that would have been twice I for when I equals I minus 1. So basically, the boundary terms appears twice. Okay. For any given segment, any given pair of segments, the two boundary terms. Let's say for this one, acha, not this one. Let's say for the next segment. So f0 or x0 appears once, xn appears once. But if you go for any arbitrary segment other than the first and the last one, then the boundary, the values at the boundary, they appear twice. One for the previous segment and one for the current segment. So therefore, it is going to be twice f of, what is it going to be? I guess twice I. Yes. So it is going up to twice m minus 2. Okay. Or n minus 2. It is going up to n minus 2. It is not going up to xn or fn. Okay. And then it is 4 times summation over I equals 1 to m. And please note, for this one, the summation remains from I equals 1 to m, f twice I minus 1. Okay. So basically, if I take the values f0 to fn like this, f1, f2, f3, fn. Achha, by the way, any fi is essentially f of xi, which is f of a plus I times h. So the coefficients of these terms in addition to h by 3 is going to be 1 is to 4 is to 2 is to 4 is to 2, then n minus 2 is to 2 is to 4 is to 1. So only reason, so basically for any given segment it is 1 is to 4 is to 1, but when two segments meet, so a given extreme value has a coefficient of 2. So it is 1 is to 4 is to 2. And hence, this is what the final expression should
Okay, sir.
be. Okay. If you want to write it in terms of n, that is also possible. It is h by 3 f0 plus fn plus twice summation over I equals 2 to twice n minus 2 if I, but then I changes in steps of 2. Okay, you can totally get rid of n, but I should change in steps of 2. Same thing happens over here. So I goes from two to n if, or rather I goes from 1 to n minus 1 if I, but I changes in steps of 2. Okay. I don't know how to write that with summation sign, but this is how it is supposed to change. Okay. So this could be your final expression. You can either use this one, or this one, but I would suggest instead of doing this one, the first expression using either this method or this method should be more correct, in the sense that you are just repeating the two extreme values every time you are doing this, whereas you can club them in this expression. So this is the final expression of Simpson's rule, Simpson's one-third rule. Let me know if you have any question regarding this. Okay.
No, sir.
And this, okay, and it's a quadratic approximation of the curve in a given segment. So obviously, it is supposed to be more accurate, even with the same number of segments. So I'm not saying that for rectangular method I'm taking 10 segments, and for Simpson's rule I'm taking uh, 10 pairs of segments. I'm just taking same 10 segments, basically 5 pairs of segments, and I'm still getting more accurate result out of it. Okay, so that's what we were going to see. Okay, so this is going to be your last assignment, last class assignment of the day, which is to write the pseudocode or the algorithm for Simpson's rule. Okay,
Okay, sir.
and I have already given you 2 assignments, one for the class, the other one for the,
rectangle.
ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
or
ঠিক
also for
আছে।
the home assignment. For home assignment, you only need to write programs for trapezoidal rule and Simpson's rule. You
ওকে
don't
স্যার,
have to
ওকে
write for rectangular method.
ওকে স্যার, হয়ে যাবে
হুম,
স্যার।
And your assignment should be due by 25th. So whenever the classes are resolving, that's not resolving. When the classes are starting, even that's when you are supposed to submit your assignment. So you have more than 2 weeks for it. Acha.
ও
Uh,
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে।
আচ্ছা স্যার বলছি, স্যার ইউ ক্যান
বলো,
টার্ন অফ দ্য রেকর্ডিং স্যার।
why?
না মানে এটা এমনি কথা বলতাম, মানে অসুবিধা না হলে। দ্য ফ্যাক্ট ইজ
তাহলে একটু
দ্যাট,
পরে বল,
ওকে স্যার।
একটু পরে বল। Okay. Acha, okay. So here, the nonlinear function that I have taken is 1 by x. Okay, 1 over x. And you might argue that why should I take 1 by x? Because I can always integrate that. It has indefinite integral, which is ln of x. The reason I did that, just to benchmark how the method works, or how the accuracies improve, or what are the orders of accuracy, just to check them. Okay. So, uh, so I'm integrating this. I'm integrating 1 by x from 1 to 2. If I integrate 1 over x between 1 and 2, what would be the definite integral value? It would be ln of 2. Okay, because once you integrate 1 over x, it is ln of x. Then there are 2. So ln of 1 is essentially you are supposed to get ln of 2. And here it is asking for number of divisions. My program, and in each of them, I have allowed the user to input
হ্যালো স্যার, গ্লিচ করছে স্যার।
স্যার ইউর ভয়েস ইজ গ্লিচিং আ লট স্যার।
হ্যালো,
শোনা যাচ্ছে?
okay, so it was disconnected, but I believe I have been able to mention that I'm integrating 1 over x, and and the program, as you can see, is asking for number of divisions, and in the program, have to set a maximum limit, and that limit is 20. And if I input
Hello? না না কিছু শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
No, yeah. We can't hear.
আমার এন্ডে নেটওয়ার্কের খুবই প্রবলেম মনে হচ্ছে। আচ্ছা, so I have set a maximum limit for number of divisions, and that limit is 20. And if I give a number more than 20, it resets to 20. So let's say if I go with the number of limits equal 20. Okay. So I'm using rectangular rule and using number of divisions equal 20. Acha. In the meanwhile, can any one of you use a calculator and tell me what is the value of ln of 2 exactly? আমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে?
ln of 20.
ln of 2.
So 0.69.
Yes, sir. 0.693147.
693147.
Hmm.
That is ln of 2. Okay. So keep that in mind. Acha. So now I'm using rectangular rule, and let's see what value do I get by taking 20 divisions.
Okay, sir.
So what its first line says is accepted step size, because I have only given number of steps equals 20. So it is accepting that value, and it is taking a step size of 0.05, which is 2 minus 1 divided by 20. Okay. If I had given more number of steps, it would have probably reduced it. And I also made it clear that at least minimum of two divisions should be taken. If I give less than 2, it will automatically set it to 2. And you see what value are we getting for this one?
Yes, sir. 0.693069.
It's close, not close to 5th decimal or 6th decimal. Okay. So let's try now the trapezoidal rule. Everything remains same function. Okay. And same number of division. Let's try something more. If I take 25, what does it do? It sets it to 20 and takes a step size of 0.05, and it gives you a value of 303. So in one end it is 3069, in other case it is 303. However, the actual value is 3147, which is kind of halfway between 3069 and 303. Okay. And by no means you can claim that the trapezoidal rule having a linear profile gives you more accuracy. Okay.
Yes,
Just
sir.
compare 0.693147 and then 0.693069 and 0.693303. Okay. So both values are more or less same amount, have the same amount of error. Now try Simpson's rule. Enter an even number of divisions. So I'm entering 22. Does it take 22? No, it takes 20 and gives you the value accurate up to 6 decimal. So you had only mentioned up to 6 decimal, and it seems it is giving us the accurate value. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So that's all I had to share. Unless you have any other questions, we can.
No.
Yeah. One.
No.
Yes.
So স্যার অ্যাকসেপ্টেড ওই স্টেপ সাইজটা কি ছিল?
Accepted step size. I mean, one could be putting any number, right? Like 1,03,423 or something. So that's why I have made a kind of a limit. It's not mandatory. If and you don't have to do that in your program, but that's how I have written it. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
ইয়েস স্যার।
I'm also ending the recording.
স্যার একটা ডাউট